Hi everyone, Serena Mingle here to demonstrate how to do one of the later crescent moon designs that I've put up on my page, The Adorned Locket on Facebook. So if you're interested, just keep watching and I'll show you the tools that you'll need to accomplish this pendant style. Okay, so first you're going to need the what looks like a curling rod wand. You hear me refer to it as. These are round nose pliers, okay, for curling or shaping, twisting of that matter. The Xuron 450 tweezer nose pliers, very great item to have. You can get that at Hobby Lobby. You can get these online. Okay, I happen to have the Xuron 485. Now these are almost like the tweezer nose pliers I've just showed you. However, they are just a little bit thicker and for flattening and getting in and squishing things together. Okay, some nippers or clippers, wire cutters. Now be aware there are different strengths of wire, and as such you should only use your cutters to be what is preferred. So for example, I had a lightweight Xuron and I decided to one day go with thicker gauge wire, dead soft copper. However, I tried to cut two lines at once and I broke the blade. So be aware the strength and don't abuse your clippers. They will last as longevity wise as long as you treat them right. Okay, all right, so there's that info. And these are the nylon jaw pliers. They're a great tool to use so that you don't mark up your wire. You can straighten wire like such. When I say straighten, I'm holding firmly with my left hand, straightening the wire, getting the humps and bumps out. See? Works great. Doesn't mark up because this is a very hard plastic or nylon jaw pliers. Okay? By Bead Buddy, and you can get these online as well. All right, so let's get to it. Here I'm using a scrap 10-inch long 16 gauge round dead soft copper piece that I had from the scrap box, so I'll be using that. Also, I forgot to mention this will come in handy. Anything round that you have to improvise. If you don't have a mandrel, that's okay. Anything to give you the shape of being round and being able to bend around that item. Also, we'll be using a chasing hammer, okay, chasing hammer and steel block to kind of shape and help out that crescent moon style. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get this straightened as I can. Now I'm using my round or ring mandrel, okay. I'm going to try and put this, since this is a smaller length of the wire that I have because I'm using for scrap purposes, you may want to use about 12 inches on your piece to just start out. So that will get you by on the 10 or 11 mark should you be using a ring mandrel, okay? Or anything roughly thickness wise right here. All right, will suffice for doing this. Okay, so I'm going to wrap around a size 10 like such, keeping it in the middle. Okay, when I do that, I am going to bring that about here. So you see where those wires bisect, excuse me, right there? Trying to stay about the 10 because I know I have a limited length of my wire for this. You may want to use, like I've stated, about 12-inch piece to start with, okay? I'm using about a 10-inch piece to start with. All right, so like such, once it's this shape, go ahead and take it off your device that you use for rounding. You should have what looks like a Taurus symbol, somewhat like that, okay? Now we're going to use these Xuron 450 tweezer nose pliers for this part, if you have, or you can use your flat nose pliers, whichever you've got. If you don't have the Xuron tweezer nose, that's fine. Okay, so you see where these are intersecting right here. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to start with my right side here. It's where you want to grip. It's not exactly on the intersection here, but do it to the right a little tiny bit. You see how much? Let me bring you in closer here. Focus. Okay. You want to grip somewhere in here about 1 to 2 millimeters possibly, okay? Before that intersection, since we're doing the right side. Okay. So pick your place, hold firmly in your grip. With your left hand, you're going to bend towards the right side. Okay. Like such. Here we go. Okay. That's what you'll have here. And then you will carefully bend on your right side. You want to close that little bend here. We're going to meet the top wire with the bottom curved area here of that same wire. Okay, you want to do this carefully, slowly, take your time. All right, take your time because you want to control that wire so that it seats properly. Now, with that other Xuron pair of pliers I showed you, or if you have flat nose, this may be a little bit more helpful after you've created that bend, because again, you want to control as you're squishing here. And get that down. Okay, see how slow I'm taking that? Go ahead and do that. Control, supporting your wires. Okay, if you need to change your grip, please do so. Okay, I'm going to bend and shape this part. Again, this is to your liking, but you want to get it as close and flat against itself like such. You see how I've done, okay? Just like that. Okay, kind of move that up a tiny bit. Okay, we're going to start with that left side now. Give the left side some attention, okay? So take your tweezers. Again, not where it intersected, but a little off, so that you try to get this as symmetrical as you can, okay? Again, this may take practice. This is not something, you know, that can be, hey, it's going to come out perfect, okay? You're shaping something with, you know, your hand, your tools, and you're making this by hand, essentially. So we'll take a little practice, okay? So how we've done right there is what you want to squeeze down. Now I'm going to go in with my thicker Xurons here, my flat nose. Okay, get a good angle that I can support this. Again, just take your time with it. Pinch that down. Okay, control, control. Okay. Let's see, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. You want to be careful because I'm working with a dead soft wire, so what can happen is I can essentially mark this up. No worries though, straighten it out how you need it. Does take, like I said, practice, things to get used to. If you've never worked with hand tools before like this with wire, it's definitely a learning process. Okay. Once you're comfortable enough to have gotten that smushed down, okay, let's keep a grip on the right hand with your left hand kind of curved towards that there. Okay. What you'll want to do is essentially, to your liking, you can open this a tiny bit. You see what I'm doing, opening that? You can see this is where our crescent moon tips right here. Our left and our right sides are going to be. All right, so that's to your liking. And let me get this straightened out just a tiny bit here. There we go. All right. Going back to my right side right here. Okay. Now you can move your tips inwards as much as you want. When you're content with the shape, the width there, okay, kind of move your stuff out there. You can curve your tips inwards a little bit to your liking. Again, do your best to keep it symmetrical and work it. Work it, work it. Here we go. Okay, now I'm gonna take the anvil and the steel block anvil, and I'm gonna take the chasing hammer. Okay. Now, again, once you're content, what I want you to do is use the chasing hammer. You're gonna use the wide portion right here. Okay, and you're gonna tap on these bottom areas of your points to that moon. Okay, just on the tips there. Okay, you see how it gives that a little bit of the shine there, a little bit of texture. It's flattening it at that. That's what you want. Okay, the more you hit it, the more thinner it's going to get because you're changing the shape of the wire. Okay, you're hardening it in a sense. All right. So if you do it too much, it will overall change the shape of your crescent a little bit. It's going to get it a little bit wider. Just know the more you play with it, the more you are shaping and whatnot, it will get brittle at some point, and then it could possibly break. So you want to watch your hand and your roll in using that hammer and how much you bend it thereafter. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now, okay, since I've done that, I am happy with about, let's see, let me do the right side just a tiny bit more. Okay. You see how that shaped a tiny bit more and opened it a little bit wider. Okay. There we go. Okay. Play around with this here because I think I got a little bit wider than the other side. Okay. Moving my moon inwards just a tiny bit to my liking. Okay. All right, I'm going to come inwards. I'm going to shape. Let's do the left side first. Shape. Okay. Okay. This is how wide or how thick you want this. Now, keep in mind at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop real quick and explain something. If you decide to add beads in here, you want to make sure the thickness of your beads, whether they're 8mm round, 10mm round, that those are going to suffice in the width of your crescent here, okay? So keep that in mind. If you need to at some point to stop while we're doing this part to kind of size up some beads and see if they're going to suffice and work for this project, if you decide to add beads, then, you know, keep it in mind. All right. Let's see what we got here. You may play with a little bit here, but you see essentially how our moon is going to shape up when we do this, okay? You want to get it as symmetrical as possible. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now, when you start, make sure that you keep your wires kind of as in the middle as possible when you're starting, when you wrap around that mandrel, okay? So here's my shape. I'm going to move the steel block here. Move some tools out the way. Here we go. Okay, so I'm getting there. I'm getting shapely here. This little side here. All right, once you're content with where you have it, let's see, you know, what I'm saying is I usually work with the round beads, but for example, if you wanted to put a bead there, you got to make sure you're compensating for that area there to sit your bead later on when we go in with the wire. Okay, so keep these there. This little side is just different for me. Okay, so keep your shapes to your stuff as best as you can and bending these in here, shaping them. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, so at the intersection here, you want it as centered as you can. Right now, got to get my right side to meet where I want it, essentially. Okay, here we go, just a little bit better. So you play around with it and make sure that it's what you want before we go further in, because now we're going to create the bail. Okay, we're going to create the bail here. How we're going to do that is, since my right side is the wire that is closest to me, in the up here, closest to me, again, using either your needle nose or your flat nose, whichever you're more comfortable with. Sometimes it might take a little bit, like, hey, okay, let's see. Now, this may take a little bit here. You may not get it on the first try, and that's okay. But I'm going to grab to the right, a little bit to the right of where the middle would be here to start my bail. Okay, just a little to the right because we're going to bend. Remember, we're bending just like when we created these moon point here. Okay, the moon points. We grabbed a little bit off to the side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and about here, I'm going to bend upwards. Okay, what you don't want to do is interrupt any of this intersection here. It should be continuous when you make your other part. Now give yourself space when we go in here. We're not going to pull right here and then start to bend in the middle. We're going to go a little bit farther off to the left when we grab with those pliers, okay? Because you want it, essentially, you want your moon to continue just like such, no interruption because of the bail. Okay, so maintain your shape there. Give your piece support where needed, okay, so that you don't warp the item. So essentially, if this is my middle right here, I'm going to grab a little farther to the left. All right, because this needs to be brought together in a sense. So let's do it right about here, okay? Now I'm going to bend up on this left wire, the one that's in the very back, all right? So go ahead and carefully, once you've got your grip, you may need to adjust. Once you've got your grip, go ahead and bring it up. Right, you see how I got that? You see my moon shape already? Looks pretty good for the middle, right? So there's no interruption. It's just a smooth, like you got that rainbow looking arch here to this crescent moon. Okay, so with your nylon jaw pliers, or you can straighten with your fingers, okay? Right here, straighten out best you can. Give your piece support once again because you want to maintain your shape. You want to maintain the shape. Okay, straighten out what you need to. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and reach for some. Just get it as straight as you can, because what you're going to do essentially is you're going to bind these two together to create that bail. Okay. Now, if it looks like it's not fluid, like continuous fluidity of your shape here, you can always straighten these out and then rebend, attempt again. Okay. Don't get discouraged. It took me a couple times on my first time. Okay. First time took me quite a while to do this. Wasn't able to get through as fast as I am right now. Okay. All right. So once you've straightened that, okay, I'm going to grab my half round dead soft copper wire, and this is the 20 gauge half round dead soft wire I'm using. Okay, got it in a spool. Again, my wire I purchased from riogrande.com. I buy in bulk spools. You don't have to. I believe there's other options should you decide to buy from them. Okay. Now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to cut off roughly a foot piece long of my wire, half round wire, 20 gauge, dead soft copper. Okay. Now with the flat side, you see the side, excuse me, the side that picks up the light, that's your flat side. The duller side is going to be the dome shape. Okay, this is half round just as it sounds. That's the side we want up on our bail, facing towards us, okay? So starting here, we're going to wrap around my right side here on the inside, leaving a piggy tail or something that we can grab onto. I call it the piggy tail, so you can at least get some sort of grip and remain wrapping with tension. So see how I've done that? I'm going to use my pointer finger on my left hand to hold, and I'm going to bring my right hand, keeping that flat side down against these wires as I bind them together. Don't let your wires get bunched up and twisted. Keep them as straight as you can. Now, because I'm working with a thicker gauge wire, which is 16 gauge round copper for this moon shape, it's going to take a little bit more finesse. You see how my half round's wanting to twist up? That's where I'm going to recorrect with my nylon jaw pliers, okay? Flatten it out, straighten it out, pull it, give it tension, harden that wire. Keep your hands as close as you can to the project when you're working it with this half round so that it doesn't warp, it doesn't twist on you, okay? Now I'm going to bring the flat nose pliers in here, smush some of this down to help keep me straight and on point, okay? Now you'll really see how well you shaped your item, and when you bring in your binding, you're binding everything together, you'll start to see if there's any kind of like flaws or anything going on that you don't want, or if you'll need to do it again. If that happens and you start getting some funky shaping in here, right here, slide, if you've already started your bail, slide it up as much as you can, rework it with your pliers in here, okay? Rework it in there so that it works for you, but you don't have to take this off. You don't have to start over. Just keep it, slide the sleeve, so to speak, and redirect with some tools if you need to. But this needs to, essentially, when you're ready to continue, this needs to be all the way down. Slide it all the way down, okay? Carry on. Continue making your bail. Now you can always flatten as you go along, like I said. Flatten this. Okay, keep everything close together. Let's see. And again, you want your bail to be in the center of your shape, okay? So mine is kind of giving me a little bit of a headache here as far as the shape on my right side of my moon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it up. You want to be careful because, again, you don't want to deform your shape. Come on. This is something I had to do a couple times here to mess with it. But again, it's normal if you have to redirect, stop, and continue. Just make sure that it's the shape that you want, essentially. Okay. Here we go. In there, in there. Okay, again, doing this to where I want it to be once I go in to bring these together. Now let's see how that looks. I'm going to grip it with my nylon jaw, both sides of this wire here, bring it down. Easy does it. There we go. Can always use these to go in because the wire's going to want to, it's round, it's going to want to twist, it's round. Okay, I'm a little bit happier with where that's at now. As far as the shape, because it all depends on them meeting up. Again, going off a scrap piece of wire when I started, so you want it continuous, continuous, continuous. All right, I'm going to carry on, continue with my bail. Keep going, give support, keep things straight here. Okay. Let's keep going, make that bail. All right, go ahead and flatten your bail here. You don't have to, but I like to maintain uniformity in my coils. Okay. Keep going, keep going. Now when you come to the end, perfect example, make sure that you try to divide up when you start. Everything's more even than what I did, okay? When you end up finishing, you want to anchor around one. Me, I'm going to anchor around my shorter one of these two for my bail, okay? So it has 0 chance of unraveling. That is why you anchor. So we anchored and started here with the piggy tail where that's at, and then we carried on, combining the two wires, binding them together. And when we finish, we're going to, same thing, anchor around, in, for instance, my shorter wire, okay? Okay. See, that should be good. Because you want to give yourself room. This is a good length, essentially. This is what I would have wanted to have on my right side. However, I'm going to go ahead and round over just my right side wire to anchor it like I was explaining. Okay, clip in a discrete area, snip your excess off. Okay, again, if you want to have a wider bail, a longer bail, then extend the length. Keep continuing coiling, and that is how you want to finish. Excuse me, that's how you want to finish. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my round nose pliers that I was just showing you. These guys. Okay, support your moon. Don't warp anything. Here, let's get this guy out of the way. We're going to clip the piggy tail excess that we have here. Okay, in a discrete area in the back so that it's kind of hidden, okay? Again, limit where you have things like this. They will rub or pick up on material, fabrics, your clothing, okay? There we go. Okay, round nose pliers. We're going to bring this bail forward, or you know what? Let's use these. Let's use our flat nose. Bringing it just easily to the front. Okay, easily to the front, just like such. You see how we've maintained our shape here for our moon, essentially. Now I'm going to take the thicker part of my rod here from the round nose pliers and bend going backwards to the back. Bend going towards the back, okay? Okay, you can change your grip, no worries. Essentially, I want my bail pretty small, you know, average, so that's good. Now, some of these coils, they may want to come up and have a gap there. You can fix that. That's why I love the xurons. See how I did that? You can fix that. You can manipulate your little coils a bit with these. They get in those small to reach, hard to get places. I love them. Great tool to have. Highly recommend them. Okay. All right. Now you're going to open your little guys up. Now, essentially, just like such. I'm bringing my longer length piece to the front, okay? Because my right side's a lot shorter, but not unworkable. So if you need to use your tools, please do so. What you're doing is you're closing that space for that bail with these wires. You're going to secure somehow, anchoring, okay, to your liking. So for my right side, it was the shorter part, all right? So I'm going to start with that side. Curling it inwards, being discreet here. Okay, now you can straighten things up here with the flat nose, get things where you want them, okay? See how I brought my right side in the center of that crescent, okay? Let's get that a little bit better. We might have to use the needle nose. I told you, it gets in those really tight to, hard to get spaces. Come on, curl in. There you go. Use a little bit of finesse, hide your areas. That's what it's all about. Polish. You want a polished look in the end, essentially. So let's get this going. All right, watch your handing when you're doing this. Keep your bail straight. Support it, straighten out. Okay. All right, now with my left side, what I'm going to do is bring that baby up front here. So it's up, coming from the back. We're going to move it to the right, and we're going to create a little swirl here, okay? So let's do that. Coming to our right, okay? I want it above my last wire I just hid, okay? Above my last wire, you see, okay? Now, if this is too long, you can clip it. I'm going to start to go to my left when curling. Get your grip towards the tips here and start curling. Change your grip if need be. Keep going. And again, if it's too long, it's better to have too much than not enough, right? If you ended up with not enough, do the same thing we did. Stop it here, you just won't have a decorative design. To each their own, you know. This is totally up to you, the creator of this piece. Okay, so I've gotten as far as I can go with those. So I'm going to use my 450 tweezer noses by Xuron here. Get in there. Continue curling. Okay, straighten it out, flatten what you got to do. Okay, to your liking. I like my curl to be in the center here of the bail. You see that? All right, let me manipulate it just a tad here. All right, well, too much, you're trying to run off, sweetheart. Here we go. All right, and I'm going to push that back so it's in the coil. Here we go. Come on, there you. Okay, and you can squeeze your items together, straighten them out, manipulate them how you want them. Now I'm noticing my little first discrete one there. I want to push that back, just like such. See how we've gotten that shape and it's got your bail? You're set up for success. You can stop here if you're happy and that's the type of pendant you want. Totally up to you, okay? You can kind of rework a tiny bit if you need, if you're anything you may have misshapen a tiny bit, no problem, okay? All right. There's the basic moon, the crescent moon style, okay? Now, again, if you'd like to continue with beads and additional wire work and whatnot, then please keep watching. Welcome back. So we're going to carry on and we're going to decorate the inside of this crescent moon, okay? All right. So with that, I've decided I'm going to use about a 10 millimeter bead here. This is how I'm going to have my stuff decorated. Some little stars. These guys you can get at Hobby Lobby, the stars, Michael's craft stores, online, I'm sure. And I've got some smaller little, these are smaller than 8 millimeter, I believe, faceted fire polished glass beads type. So essentially that's the way I want my design to be. Now remember I said make sure that your stuff for the most part can fit in the crescent, okay? All right, so let's get to it. I cut a 24, which is 2 feet of 20 gauge round dead soft copper wire. All right, so we're going to start with the central bead first. Mine happens to be the evil eye, the purple. Okay, again, this is choose the beads that are going to fit with the 20 gauge, or if you don't have 20 gauge and you need to use something that's thinner, that's fine. Just make sure it can penetrate your bead and you can move about the cabin here, okay? Find your middle of the 20 gauge wire that we're working with, okay? Find the middle there. What you're going to want to do is center that, straightening out my wire to make sure that they stay as even as possible, okay? As even as possible. All right, so I found my middle. Here's my bead face up towards me since it does have a design. You want to go ahead and put your left side upwards. Okay, bend that against the stone there. Your right side will move downwards, okay? We're going to essentially cradle this glass bead by starting with our left if you'd like, okay? You can come over that right side where that wire is coming out of the bead on the right, okay? And then the left side, bring it around like such, okay? You're cradling that bead, keeping the wire close to that bead. Now I have a design, so I'm going to work with this a little bit because I don't want that eyeball design, and it may rotate, it may not. I want to get that as tight as possible that I can, okay? So going downwards, and I'm carrying with my left side here, maintaining my grip here a little bit, okay? So again, keeping my wires as easily done here as I can. Okay, go around, keep going. I'm going to give it a couple times here, okay? So then my left, I'm going to come to the front. See where the wire's coming out on the left here? I'm going to go in front of that, okay? Tighten up my stuff here so that it doesn't give it a chance to move as much, okay? So essentially, here's what you should have. Your left side should be upwards, your right side should be downwards. And again, because I have a design on my bead, such as an eyeball, like a bullseye here, I want that to show. It may move a little bit, and that's okay, all right? Now, once you've gotten this, here's how it should look from the side, okay? All right. Here's how it should look. You want to put this position as centered as you can. You see the wires? I guess you got an idea where they're going to be, and we're going to attach. So the left side, we're going to bring that one, working the left side first. The left side, bring that around. Okay. Okay. Like such, keep that to the left of your wire bead here. Okay. Just the left wire. Don't get confused. Sorry about that. Let's pull the right out of the way. Okay. So we're still behind at the bottom, coming up to the front. Here we go. Keep it with tension, as much tension as you can. You don't want a lot of gappage here in the areas where you're putting your wire around. Okay, so I'm going to make a couple here, like such, you see? Okay, and I'm going to come. Actually, yeah. So your second one. See how we're on the second? We're still at the front of the moon. Still at the front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set my first star here. Now I'm going in underneath at the bottom of the star because the point I want to be on top, okay? So let's get that in there. Get it on. It might take a little finesse because my wire end, and if that's the case, love this tool. I love it. Straighten it out. Straighten that wire out so you don't have issues with your shaped beads. That's what I got to do essentially. Okay. Now see how I misshaped this right here? Lesson learned, right? Just squish that back in. Give it its tension it deserves. Reshape it. Pick up where you left off. Let's get that bead on there. Come on, little bead. Here we go. Keeping as much tension as you can. Now with beads, just be aware of what materials you're working with, because if you're working with something very fragile, it could essentially crack the more you handle it. Okay, so get that seated in there where you want it. Okay, here's how mine is so far. Now keep the tension. Continue and carry on. See, mine's wanting to flip, and that's okay. All right, I think I like the bluish green side of that a lot better than its other side. All right, so here we are. Now I want my star to lay as flat as I can here. And a lot of that plays a role, like I said. Make sure that you are giving tension. If you need to go in with your tools and flatten some of this stuff down, then so be it. Watch your beads that you don't crack them. Some stuff may pop up. It may be the fine tips of the bead, because I've got a pointed star here, so that may be what you saw. If you want, use your hands, use your nylon jaws. Okay, carry on. Again, we're doing the left side, so just keep the tension there. So I'm going to move off of that bead and make sure I can get this flat, essentially using this, watching my pressure here. Okay, come around. Here's one, right? We got one. Let's come around the second time. The second time, what we're going to do here, take your needle nose pliers or your tweezer nose, your flat nose, whichever you have. You're going to want to make a left 90-degree turn the best you can there. Okay, in the middle. Start in the middle and bend that if you need to use your hand. This is to get your round bead on. Like I have a faceted round one I'm working with. Again, keeping the tension. I'm watching all my stuff. Okay, keeping everything as tight as I can because it looks a lot nicer, not a lot polished, a lot more polished. Okay, slide on your bead. Okay, there's the bead. Now what we're going to do is kind of squish that in there. What we're going to do is with this, you can go upwards with the bead. You can go upwards. I want you to cradle this bead. Now, just like we did our eye to start with, the round one, central bead, you're going to cradle this one right here. Okay, keep all the cradling going in the front, obviously. Now, where I had the bead come up on the wire come out of the bead on the top here, I'm going to still continue cradling, make sure I bring my wire in front of that area where the wire was coming out the last area, okay? I'm going to bring it in one more time here. All right, cradling, you see what we're doing there, going around. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and come to the top. And I'm going to continue wrapping around the moon. Carry on, carry on. And you can continue with extra beads if you'd like. The more space you have, you can do some decorative design there. I'm going to keep it simple for you guys. Got a couple times there I'm going around. I'm going to flatten my wires as best as I can. Keep tension, okay? Go around again. Now I have a lengthier piece of wire. Like I said, I recommended 2 feet of wire. Better to have too much than not enough, right? So when you're ready to finish your area, you can come around as much as you can. But essentially, you're going to anchor around one wire in the end. So whether that's the back and you want to clip here and conceal, that is totally up to you. Or you can anchor it in the front if you desire, okay? When you anchor it to the front, where that is I'm going to clip and leave myself some spare room. Control your clippings, okay? Now, it's better to have too much than not enough. So when I go in to curl with my round nose pliers, I'm going to put it in between the moon here, in between those 2 wires, and then I'm going to show its way to the back so that it's discreet. Okay, see how we got a little bit of a gap here? I'm going to fix that, you guys. Just fix it as best as you can. Because again, you want to conceal things best you can. Try not to deform your piece. Focus on the wire that you're doing, like such. Okay, so again, I brought that wire from the front in between the crescent point there, going towards the back. Okay, see that? Now, if you need to additional use a file to get that down, mine doesn't protrude to the point where it'll catch on anything. Keep it in mind, okay? All right, so let's do the right side. So if you need to readjust, reposition, make sure everything's symmetrical in a sense. You don't have to be symmetrical with your design. That's totally up to you. So at this point, we're set up to go downwards, remember? So we're gonna go around a couple times, mimic and mirror the side that you did here. So it looks like we had one there. Coming to the back. Now when we come up here, let's keep tight. Keep that tension there. Everything as tight as you can without deforming your moon shape, okay? Keep in mind, there's a reason for the season. There we go. Now I am at the point where it's time to put on the star. So let me make sure I get everything there. Let's find the point here since we want to come out. start going in with the bead, point side up in this case. I like this side a lot better. Get it in there. Okay, I want this side showing upwards, so position where you want your bead, the side you want to show, okay? Again, you can mess with all the beads after the fact, like the ones you've already done on the left side. Let's keep it going. So once you've got it where you want it to be, I want my bead spaced so that my star lays flat, okay? Otherwise, it's going to get caught up on its left arm on that wire to our left, to the right side of our eyeball. I don't want that, so let's get you on there. Okay, carry on with tension, being aware. Okay, now I need to mimic and do, I think, at least a couple here. All right, let's get this going. One wrap around. Let's do 2 wraps around. Well, 1.5 essentially. All right, we're at that point where we're going to add the next bead. However, you need to do that 90-degree bend that we did on the other side to get our round faceted bead on, or rondelle, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to go best I can halfway in here with your tweezer nose. Okay, keep control of your piece, just like such. All right, put your last bead on, or if you're at this point, this is the bead I am doing, my very last bead. Now, at this point in time, I see my star bunching, so I want to give that space, ample space that it deserves. So if you need to cinch stuff down, you still can do that. Just be mindful. My bead's a little bit more fragile because it is that star. All right. So I can always go back and look at that. All right, now we're going to cradle this bead. We're going to bring this wire around a couple times, and then we're going to finish off and anchor. All right? Carry on, carry on. Here we go. We're coming to my left, maintaining tension in that bead so there's no gaps. I like my stuff to be pretty tight. Okay? Now, when I come around, I'm going to the front of where that wire was coming out of the bead. So in a way, you're kind of concealing it, but that's just how I like to style my bead itself there. Okay? Now, when you come up right here at this point, I'm going to start to bring it around now. Wind around the crescent moon. Let's do it. Now, if you want super symmetrical, count your coils here that you did after your last bead. So I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 anchor. Okay, 5 and an anchor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can spread those out as well. And then we anchored, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bringing it to the front one more time, and that's where we're clipping so that it can get anchored in there, okay? That's what we want. Now, again, we're going to go ahead and kind of reposition and mess with this once we're just about complete. But I am mirroring everything, so I want to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the front is where I'm clipping. All right, here's where I'm going to clip right here. Control it so I don't fly this time. Okay, here's where I've clipped. Now I need to put this piece here, tuck it to the back. Go in between your crescent point there, bring it to the back. You can use your round nose, you can use whatever tool best assists you to do this, because you want essentially to bring that to the back discreetly and anchor that properly. So I'm bending it towards the back. There we go. Let's see. Okay. Don't want to do too much because like I just did, I think I moved my crescent when I did that. So what I need to do is be mindful here. Go ahead and take your time with this. It's no rush. You just want it to do what it needs to do. So I have too much here, so I'm going to clip it a tiny bit. All right, there we go. It doesn't pose that much of a problem and an issue for me. And show that to the back. Okay, like such. Okay. Just about done. I want to make sure I got a good anchoring there because if I didn't, all this stuff will seem like it's kind of off a little bit. There we go. Okay. I think that looks cute. Let me go in for some last little touch-ups here. I like my little bead being up front there, the little eyeball, evil eye. Okay, like such. There you go. That's the end result. You have your moon charm. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Give me a like and a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel for more how-tos. And follow across the social media for more upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much.